Alright, today I got a Street Fighter redesign. Been a while since I did one of these, so without further ado, I'm getting ready to design Crimson Viper, so here we go. Okay, I recently got asked to do a redesign for Viper, and I actually can't believe that I never thought about designing her to begin with. Of all the Street Fighter characters and designs that I'm actually a fan of, I can't believe she never even crossed my mind. And she's missing from Street Fighter 6. That's crazy to me now that I think about it. And I don't think people hated the character or disliked her. They even had her in the Marvel vs. Capcom 3 games. I don't understand why she's been missing the last 2 Street Fighter games, but whatever. In any event, I felt like doing a redesign of her would be very interesting, especially considering she has such a unique design to begin with. So the challenge of doing almost like a design that would fit Street Fighter 6, which also has crazy redesigns in and of itself, while still holding true to the character and the uniqueness of it, is going to be one hell of a challenge, but one that I was willing to take nonetheless. So without further ado, here we go.
Well, having fun? Ready to show me what you can really do?
Okay, so right off the bat, I can't tell you how much I actually enjoyed, and this didn't register to me until I was doing the design. Every female character I've been designing for a while has either needed to look badass and tough or something like that, or it's needed to look like a ninja or some type of soldier or killer. It's nice to actually design a female character that's just supposed to look just like a regular woman, essentially. There's nothing outlandish about Viper's character designs to begin with, outside of maybe her hair, which was the challenge. Just how do I make that hairstyle look unique, but I didn't want to give her the exact same hairstyle either. This is a redesign after all. But oddly enough, I wanted her redesign to look even simpler from her previous Street Fighter 4 look. It kinda does, even though I added a lot of detail into certain places, it still looks pretty simple and familiar for the most part. What I sort of went for was almost like a businesswoman who still looked like she could have been a spy or some type of agent or something, considering that she was almost a double agent in Street Fighter 4, where she was working for Shado, or Sin I should say, but she was investigating them undercover at the same time. It's okay, maybe she would be investigating JP in Street Fighter 6, I have no idea. But something along those lines, her investigating some unknown force in Street Fighter 6 was where my mind sort of went at. But like I said, it's sort of keeping the design really simple, and I believed it worked. She doesn't have really extravagant shoes. I sort of have her in sort of heels. She has on really tight sort of shiny capri pants almost. She just has a buttoned up shirt that's somehow still showing cleavage because it's still Viper. I needed to make sure that was there. With a ridiculously gigantic tie. I don't know why I drew her tie that big, but it sort of became comical to me after I first drew it the first time. I almost erased it, and then I thought, you know what, I'm leaving it, I'll work with it. One of those happy accidents, so I kept that in there. God, I sound like Bob Ross now. So after having an idea of how I wanted her look to be and sort of having that sketched out, and then finishing the line art after that, it was on to coloring, which I also had a vague idea of what her color scheme was going to be. Before I get into that, just want to remind you guys, if you like the video so far, to like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't. Trying to reach 1,000 subscribers, so if you support the channel, I greatly appreciate it. Now back to the video. So for her color scheme, my thought process was something yellow, or a color scheme sort of matching yellow. Why yellow? Because it's so different and bright in comparison to the sort of black and white design she had in Street Fighter 4. I almost said Street Fighter 6, my god. But it's such a contrast to that design that I wanted to sort of do that here. Also, I gave her a sort of light-skinned or tannish skin tone. This was brought to my attention when the request was made for the design. And being honest, I'm just a fan of Viper with sort of a tannish skin tone in general, but her skin complexion and race is actually kind of ambiguous. Depending on what you're looking at, she may look Asian, she may look like a white woman, she may be tan, it's all over the place, so just roll with tan. It's not it matters to begin with, but it helped the design. So I rolled with that for the skin tone. That bouncing off of the yellow I thought would almost be too close. It actually came across really well, possibly only because of the complementary colors I used for it, which was a lot of purples and blues, but whatever, it works. I gave her bright red glasses, which I like, but it almost makes her look like Karin from Naruto. She looks dangerously close to that, and that was not my intention, but I don't know. She's like a cross between her and, oh my god, I forgot the name of the android. What is it? Android, is it 12? Oh my god, I forgot the number of the new android they made for the Dragon Ball Z games, but like Dragon Ball Fighters and whatnot. Like, I completely forgot the android, but you know what I'm talking about. Remind me in the comment section. But anyways, going from there, like I said, it was a lot of sort of purples and blues to complement the bright yellow and her skin tone for that matter. Just, I felt like it'd be so different, especially when you compare like Cammy's Street Fighter 6 design to her, I guess, Street Fighter 2 design that she's had forever. It's night and day, so I sort of wanted something close to that for Viper while it still looks like Viper. I wanted the actual clothes to look like a contrast while she still looks somewhat like the character. You can recognize her while she still looks different. I'm not sure how much sense that makes, but hopefully you follow me on that. Then after finishing that up, it was on the shading. Shading her was actually really fun only because she has so many like shiny metallic areas, so I had to be sort of meticulous with the shading, but there's like whole blotches of areas that I could do in one shot. Sort of made this enjoyable and fun and not as meticulous as it normally would be. Outside of the weird like accessory on her like wrist that I gave her, I got inspired by the Black Widow look from the Marvel movies. Matter of fact, the gloves in her wrist was probably the most intricate areas that I had to sort of do shadows on for her. That and the cleavage, but it wasn't going to be that hard for me to figure out how I was going to shade that one out. But in any event, very simple shading for her. Though I did have to go back and redo the face just because I forgot to shade the complete left side of her face properly. Or I think that was to add the highlights to it. I think I'll get to that later on. And since I bring it up doing the highlights, I had to do that more than once because she needed a lot more specular highlights than I initially thought. Plus I needed to do shading for the actual lenses of her glasses, so a lot more working with highlights than I normally do for these redesigns or any pictures that I do for the most part that's not a painting. And then of course I had the weird color correction issues that I have when I'm working on my tablet. I don't know why that keeps happening, but it's a thing now, I guess. I've almost learned to work around it at this point. But anyways, I did the multiple passes with the highlights in different pieces of her hair, just having to use multiple light colors, doing the first pass and then coming back and doing it a second time with specular highlights, just to make it as bright as it needed to be. Really came out well on her pants and her heels. And then after fixing the highlights on her face, I was pretty much done. Then you had a Street Fighter 6 Crimson Viper, even though she doesn't really look that crimson, but we're gonna leave that alone. Anyways, I'd love to give your feedback as to what you think about the design and whether it holds up to a Viper design at all. Also, as usual, if you have a suggestion for any type of fighting game character that you'd like to see me redesign, go ahead and leave that in the comments below. I do a lot of these redesigns at random, so at some point I should get to your design. I can't promise you when, but I know that I will. But as I said earlier, make sure you like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't. And you all have a good one, and I'm out.
Get it on that selector, make it first pick. Get it on 10, 9, 8, 7, 6. Get it on choose and pick the best one. Get it on 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Get it on that selector, make it first pick. Get it on 10, 9, 8, 7, 6. Get it on choose and pick the best one. Get it on 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Get it on that selector.